Okay, we're at the edge of somebody's farm field down in Ray County, Missouri, alongside Highway 210. I don't know who the owner is. We came down here to talk about agriculture and to talk about this type of agriculture. It's widely believed by Americans that I talk with that this type of agriculture is necessary in order that the current size population of the world be supported and not die off. That's a myth, and I wanted to discuss that myth, but I also wanted to discuss what this size of agriculture is. I made a video of one of these fields the other day, and I went home and I looked at my video. There's some more trash. And I realized that my phone camera just cannot express the scale we're looking at down here. That's Missouri Highway 210 up there. It's the evening rush hour, or getting close to it. It's a cloudy, cold November afternoon. And we're going to walk here at about a regular walking pace. Get up here on this public road so that I don't trespass on this gentleman's land. And we're going to talk about this agriculture. This agriculture that you're looking at here is annual grain agriculture, which means that it grows one crop a year of something that is either the seed of a grass or the seed of a bean family plant, a legume. There's nothing else that they raise down here that I can think of right off that would be anything different. Mostly it would be corn, which is a grass, or it would be soybeans, which are a legume. Those are the two money crops here. There's a number of reasons why those are the money crops, but the two biggest ones is that they can be processed into a lot of different products. So there's a big demand for them. You know, from corn we get oils, and we get the sacred nutrient without which America would collapse. We get high fructose corn syrup, and we get cornmeal, and we get corn flour, and we get corn starch, and we get ethanol in our gas tanks, and we get steers on our plates, and we get all manner of things. We get chicken feed, hog feed, cattle feed, people feed. We get oils which can be used in industry. You know, the machines that make your food, they're not lubricated with petroleum oil. They're lubricated with food oils, food safe oils. So they are lubricated with typically soybean oil, rapeseed oil, sunflower oil, corn oil. There are a lot of different oils, and they have vast numbers of uses. So that's what we produce down here. We produce raw materials, corn and soybeans, and people do get some food out of that. A lot of it goes in this circular economy where we invest energy to make things. When we turn those things into energy, then we, you know, so that, I mean, when we put diesel oil and gasoline and anhydrous ammonia and all these tractor trips where the tractors look like bulldozers across these fields, we're putting energy in. And then when we pump our gas, and we're taking the energy that grew on this field and putting it in our gas tanks to go back in the circle. This is the soil of the field we're walking alongside. It has been harvested recently, and then they go over it. They no longer use the kind of old plow, the mental picture you might have of a plow that turns the ground upside down. They use things that are just big, like hooked fingers, like if you took your fingers and did this and dragged them through the ground, only they're they're 2 feet long, your fingers are 2 feet long, and the things that they're dragging through the ground are 24 feet wide, 32 feet wide, sometimes wider. You can see, if you look right out there at that first little place where the color changes, it's black from here out and then it just turns kind of yellowish. Okay, from here to there, that's one pass of the machine that went down and cultivated this row. And you know, then the other pass, and then if you can see out there, I don't know how well it's obvious it is in this camera, but the direction of the passes became diagonal at a point where it became more fuel efficient to do that. The per acre yields that they get out of this are in no way enhanced by this bigness. This scale does not enable them to get more corn per acre. The only measurable benefit to this physical scale of agriculture is per man hour. Okay, this enables us to produce more corn per man hour than any other system. And we are assured that that is good. We are assured that labor is the most expensive thing, and that if we didn't do this, we couldn't have our cheap food. Our whole economic numbers game is just this giant shell game where the money moves around on the table and you can never find the shell it's under. And we have a country in which so many people are behind on just maintaining the service on their debts that there's a whole industry calling people up and badgering them to borrow more money to use to pay their bills to service their debts. The field on our left is what's called conventional tillage. This field, by modern calculations and modern understandings, as for instance, as reported in the August of 2019 IPCC report, this field could be expected to lose topsoil at approximately 100 times natural recovery rate, which is to say they'll lose as much topsoil off of this between today and a year from today as could be generated on this piece of ground in a century. That's the scientifically reported number. 100 times. This is another conventional tillage field. This corner's wetter, and this is also where they turn around. So you can see that the ground here is much more clumped up. And then what's that over there? What's all that color? All right, that is no-till. That is what is called no-till agriculture. We're not going to drag this giant tilling machine across that field. That is crop residue. When I went down here and harvested this with a combine, as you can see, let me get over here a little closer where you can see it better. The crop, they had the head of the combine set to where it was mowing. These were soybeans. You can still see the bean curls laying there. And this was mowing right on the surface of the ground. This combine was set so that it mowed just right there on the ground. See down there, that's my little car. That's how far we've come. We've just changed fields on one side. On the other side, we haven't changed fields yet. We've changed farmers here. The guy that's got the road front, he's a tillage farmer. The guy that's got this area, he's a no-till farmer. If you look right down there, right where I'm pointing, see those two, that set of tracks? Those are the wheel tracks of that combine. But the header is so much wider than the wheel tracks that when they move the combines down the road, they have to take the headers off and put them on a trailer and pull them sideways, because the header's wider than the whole road from shoulder to shoulder, counting the shoulders. That's at least a 32-foot header. You notice we don't see very many other wheel tracks right here. It's a long ways from wheel track to wheel track. Now, all that stuff you see, that's what blows out. When you see a combine going out in a field, if you ever do, they're just in a cloud of dust. And that, what you see on the ground there, that's a lot of that dust. The rest of it is in the neighbor's lungs. But the heavier of that dust settles out. Right there's where a combine turned around. You see that path and that path. And if you take an imaginary line right down the middle, that's where the header was. Okay, they came up, made a U-turn, and went back down. Combines steer with their back wheels so they can make these little funny U-turns. This land, this crop residue will be left on the surface of this ground. It will never be taken off. It will, to a very slow extent, it will even decompose bacterially and add some trifling amount of fertility and life to the soil, possibly, depending on whatever chemicals they use. There's a that's a field drain or erosion gully or both. Anyway, come spring, they'll come out here, and instead of, see what they've done over here, the purpose of that is to kill every living thing on that soil. Because when you come in here with a crop, if you're a modern farmer, in the 4 months your crop is in the field, you have to obtain 100% of everything of value that falls on that crop. You've got to get 100% of the sunshine. You can't have any trees. You've got to get 100% of the water. You can't have any weeds because they would suck up the water. In your 4 months, you've got to get 100% of everything that the earth puts on that. And if you're lucky, you can make your word with the banker good. But anyway, if weeds grew on that, they would take water. So that cultivation is to kill all the weeds and everything else that might grow there. And they don't do anything to kill the weeds out here. So come spring, what they do is they just spray this with Roundup. No sweat. We don't have to worry about weeds. We got Roundup. And we got Roundup Ready soybeans. So this is what no-till agriculture, also called green agriculture. This is green agriculture because we don't plow up the soil. We leave this crop residue, and the crop residue is, we are told in TV advertisements, beneficial for the wildlife. If you can imagine a piece of wildlife hiding in that, there's my glove. See any quail out there? See any foxes? See any possums? What we call agriculture is just these vast stretches of death. And the only reason this one's interrupted is because there's a railroad track down here. Because they built all the trains in the bottoms. That right there, that's soybeans on the road. Those fell out of somebody's truck. Okay, we can't let the quail have anything to eat, but we can feed the roadway. That up there's a railroad crossing. That yield sign, if you see it. I'm walking now pretty smartly. This is getting to be a long video. It's only one field. It's all one field. All the time we've been out here, we're just in this little, and this isn't even a big field, not down here in the bottom of it, because this railroad track interrupts it. This is what we call habitat. in agricultural North Missouri, habitat and old tires. Now, if the low-rent slobs of agricultural North Missouri were driving electric cars, the tires that they threw into the ditches because they're too cheap to pay the recycle fee would be much less harmful than these tires here. Here's some more habitat. I got this focused on this. I don't want you to miss this. This, I'm not kidding, I'm not exaggerating. This is the best habitat for wildlife that you're going to find in any modern American farm. This is it. You're looking at it. There's some more. And the only reason we got this habitat is because they built this ramp. We're on a ramp going up a hill. And they built this ramp so it would get the road over the railroad tracks. See that spot over there that's dark brown? That doesn't look the same color of dead as all the rest of it? That spot was flooded all winter all summer. We had a flood that covered a lot of this bottomland all summer. And the lowest spots never got planted. So that's what you're looking at there. That's crop field. Now, let me close with this. There's some serious habitat. That, of course, is habitat because it's too low to farm. And it's too close to the railroad tracks to be worth clearing. And this is actually a good little spot. Time to time, ducks probably come in here. I don't know if you can see it in this phone video, but that stand of water down in there, it's a little wild marsh. I've never been back here before. I just randomly picked a field. That's about as good as it gets, folks. That's decent habitat. There could be deer in there, there could be wood ducks in there. There could be a few bobwhites struggling along through in there. That could be depending on how much small. See, there's standing water. Wherever there's standing water, there's life. Something lives around that water. That means there's a few coons and there's a few foxes. There's a few possums. There's some bacterial life. There's some old tires, of course, because this is America. And this is the 21st century. And this is progress. And this is what humans have to do because we have to have progress. But that's a nice little spot. I like that little spot. If I was cursed to live around here, I'd go sit by that spot a lot. But aside from that, what you're looking at, as far as the eye can see that little hill sticking up right out there? I'll bet you from here I couldn't walk to that hill in 2 hours. That's a long way. That's far. And from here to that hill, everything is dead. There is no life. There is no life out here. And people tell me that if we get carbon-free electricity and electric cars, this won't matter. And I tell you that anyone who tells you that is not telling you the truth. Either they don't know it or they have chosen not to. But there is no possible way that a survivable world can be made out of this much death. all these pieces, all these fields, this field could be cut up into 10 separate fields, and a guy with a team of horses could mow each of those 10 sets of fields. Or a girl. There's no reason a girl with a team of horses couldn't mow a set of fields. I'm not telling people they have to be guys. That's just a habit of speech. And there'd be little rows like this one between all those fields. And in all those little rows, there'd be little bunches of bobwhite quail, and there'd be little bunches of foxes, and there'd be little bunches of coons and possums, shrews, insects. And at night they'd slip out into these little fields and they'd eat a little bit, and the farmer wouldn't get every single square foot, every watt that fell on it. But the world we live on wouldn't die. And if we couldn't produce enough corn to put it in our cars, we'd get by just fine. This is not in any way the only people who benefit from this are the people who own the corporations that make the machinery and the people who own the corporations that sell the oil. Every single farmer who comes down here and farms all day on a 32-foot wide combine would be just as happy coming down here farming all day on a 6-foot wide combine if he could make a living doing it. It's not this scale which gives the farmer freedom. It is not this scale which gives us enough food to feed 7.5 billion people and counting. This scale only feeds the oil companies. And it's destroying the world. The fuel that's used to do that damage destroys the world. The fuel that is used to poison that destroys the world. And the scale of the field destroys the world. We could do all of that, just like we did in 1941, with horse-drawn, mule-drawn, oxen-drawn agriculture, and be better off. And that's not even the best we could do. The best we could do would be to plant all this with chestnuts, walnuts, because you can process chestnuts and walnuts into anything you can process corn and soybeans into. And you don't have to plow, and you don't have to kill, and you don't have to poison. And you can have them growing on your land year-round. And most of the carbon they ever take in stays in them. This ground is just blowing carbon out into the atmosphere right now. You want those cars out there to be electric cars so they don't exhaust carbon. What are you going to do about this field? It's exhausting carbon right now. What are you going to build to make that not happen? Some kind of machine that takes carbon out of the air? I'll tell you what, I could go down there this afternoon with one donkey, and I could plant 24 machines that would take carbon out of the atmosphere for free forever. Match that. See out there, I don't know if you can even see it, way far away down there's a little bitty speck. There's a crossroad, and a little bitty speck is my car. I'm fixing to walk back there. I'll see y'all later.